Hi everybody, welcome to Push Your Luck video. My name is Eric and today we'll be looking at Voyages of Marco Polo. Now this is a 2015 release, originally released in German by Hans Im Gluck and is now in English version by Zman games. So this is a 2015 release. It plays 2 to 4 players and is by the designer pair of Daniele Tassini and Simone Luciani. So they are good friends and they have designed several other games together, one of which is one of my favorites, the Tzolkin the Mayan calendar. They have also designed quite a lot of other games together. So they are quite the pair to look out for because most of the games I do like a lot. So 2 to 4 players, as I mentioned, it takes about 20 to 25 minutes per player. So I think about an hour or slightly over an hour for playing Marco Polo. Explanation does take a bit at the beginning to get the players into the game, but once you get into the game, it's quite easy. It flows very smoothly. So this is it's like I will compare it to Madeira in a way. So you're traveling, your players are like different characters and they're traveling around the route that Marco Polo has taken in the east. And so they're trying their best to travel around, do actions, and play styles. So you can think of it like Alien Frontiers, but much more heavier than the original Alien Frontiers. So let's take a look at the rules of the game and how to play it and my thoughts about the game. Alright, so this is what you get in the game of Voyages of Marco Polo. Now, as you can see, this is a very big board. I'm struggling to try to squeeze everything into the screen so you can see the whole board and everything that you get in its full glory. So what do you get in the game? There's one game board, alright, it's very big, and then there'll be all these cardboard tiles as well. So these are like good cardboard quality, and these are the contract tokens or contract tokens that you get. And there's also a number of cards as well. So these will be placed in the different big cities on the board, randomly shuffled. There's quite a lot, so there's a lot of replayability value. Each big city will also have one of these first player benefits. So whoever is the first player that reaches the big city will get these benefits as well. So these are nice, good cardboard tokens. They also run in the basic setup and advanced setup. They're all randomly distributed at the beginning. Each small city will also have one of these cardboard tokens. This is the benefit that you have when you place a trading post in a small city. So you in the basic setup you can follow the alphabet here to set them up, but in the advanced setup you can just randomly distribute them across the board. Each player will there's also money tokens. So the money tokens are pretty nice. They're nice quality tokens. The $10 has a little hole in the middle, a little notch in the middle, so it's quite good quality. I like all these kind of cardboard tokens because they are much better than the paper money tokens. There's a whole lot of resources that we can have in the game. There's let me just grab them quickly. Alright, so there's gold. This is gold. Then there's pepper. This is pepper. And there's silk. Right, and then there's camels. Alright, the camels, all the resources have the big and the small. So you can see that this is the big one and this is the small one. So the big one will represent 3 of the small ones. Now the difficult thing about this is that sometimes when you're grabbing it from the pile, you may not necessarily tell immediately that you have gotten the big one or the small one. So it will be good at the setup to differentiate them so that everybody knows what's the difference. For example, I think this is the big one. There's a smaller pepper, for example. So it will be good to separate them into different piles so that everybody will know and not make mistakes. Each player, there's also a whole set of character cards, right, that you can choose from. Now, if you play the basic game and it's your first game, there is an initial setup that everybody takes a standard set of characters. In the advanced play, you will shuffle all the character card and then the last player will choose first, and then the next player, and then the first player will choose last. Right. And lastly, the players will have a player board like so. Alright. So this is where the player will start with 9 trading posts. So these are all the 9 trading posts. You put them here. As you travel across the land, you'll be placing trading posts in the big cities and small cities. And if you manage to get the 8th trading post out, you get 5 points immediately. If you get the 9th trading post out, you get another 10 points immediately. Each player will also start with a starting contract, which has a blue symbol. So most of the contracts that you complete will be red. So each player will have a randomly determined start blue contract to start off with. So the contracts will show you, to complete the contract, you need to pay this amount of resources, and then you get this benefit. So in this case, you get 5 coins and 3 points. Then after, once you complete them, you place them here in this area. So this is an area for you to keep your completed contracts. Then at end game, whoever has the most completed contracts will get 7 points. Okay. This is an area for your players to store the resources. So each player also start with 2 camels. Alright, and then this is for you to store the resources. There's also 5 dice. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a bit like Alien Frontiers. So this dice will be your main way to get actions on the board. So this is where you can put the dice that you have not yet used. Alright. So all in all, the components are all pretty good quality. So let's explain how. Oh, at the beginning as well, each player will also, if you play the advanced rule, you have 4 secret objective cards, and then you choose 2 of them to try to complete them. So the secret objective cards is basically just to put the trading post in these 4 areas. So if you manage to, like for this one, if you manage to put in Karakorum and Adana, you will get 7 points. So this is how you score points for the secret objective cards. At the end game as well, there's also different benefits. So let's say if I manage to place 1, 2, and 3, all right, in this area, I'll score 7 points for this. I will not score the 5 points because I did not place on 2 of them. But at the end as well, since I have 3 different cities accomplished, here you can see 3 different cities accomplished, I'll get 6 more points. So if I had a trading post in Karakorum, Adana, and well, okay, this is not a very good example because I will have completed them. But assuming that this is not Adana, so if I have only this 3, it's okay. If I have 1, 2, 3, like I did not place in the Samarakanda, so I place in this 3, I will get 7 plus 6, so I get 13 points for this set. Alright, so how do you play the game? So at the start of the game, players will there's a very handy player guide. So this is the basic game setup. It's quite easy for you to follow all this and set up quickly. For the expert variant, then there's an expert variant game setup guide as well. So I find this very useful, so I don't keep referring to the manual all the time. So this is very good. Each player will also have a player aid, so it will explain to you what each game round does. So at the start of each round, you'll choose a new start player. So the new start player is the one who last chosen the travel action during the previous round. It's a new start player. So I'll explain that later. The travel action is actually here, this one. So I'll explain how that works later on. Next, you award city and character bonuses. So all the exclamation mark symbols provide bonuses. These are found on all small cities and some of the characters. So you see all the small city tiles. These are the small city tiles. You see that they have exclamation mark, which means that if you have placed a trading post at a small city at the start of the subsequent rounds, you will get these benefits. So for example, in this case, I will get 3 camels, or I get 2 different types of resources, either a gold, pepper, or silk. I'll get 2 different types of resources. So these are what this symbol means. Some of the characters also have a starting benefit. So for example, if you chose Niccolo and Marco Polo, at the start of the round you get 1 camel as well. Alright, so after you've gotten the benefits, you will retrieve all your dice. So you take back all your own colored dice from the board. Alright, then you return the black dice to their space on the board. So the black dice will be placed here. Got some black dice to show you. So depending on the number of players, there will be a number of black dice plus 1. Alright, next, you will roll all dice, and then there's possible compensation. So now you roll all your dice, and if you roll less than 15, you get 1 coin or 1 camel for each point of difference between the sum of your dice and 15. Alright, so now players will take their dice, and then you roll them. So you count whether you have less than 15 or not. So in this case, I have 8, 10, 13. So based on what I wrote just now, I can now get either 1 camel or 1 coin for each point under the 15. Each player also starts with some amount of money. So start player will start with $7, second player will start with $8, 8 coins, then third player will start with 9 coins, and the last player will start with 10 coins. Okay, after you've done that, this is where you do your player turn. So what happens is that each player will take a turn and do 1 mandatory action, and then they can carry out as many bonus actions as they want. And bonus actions can be done before or after your mandatory action. So this will go around until all players have done action and there's no more dice left. Then that's the end of a round. And what happens is that you clear off any remaining contracts and you add new contracts to the board. So these are all the contracts. If there's any remaining left over, you just remove them, and then there will be a new stack of contracts that you put them onto the board. Now at the start of the game setup, you'll be setting up 5 different piles of contracts, and these piles will indicate how many rounds of the game there will be. So after the end of 5 rounds, that will be indicated end of the game, and whoever has the most points will win. So that's a very neat way of keeping track of how many rounds you have left. Okay, so what are all these actions that we are talking about? Now they're all across the board. Anything that looks like these symbols that have the dice there is where you can put your dice there and do actions. So what are the different actions that are available? One thing to take note of, when you do a particular action, you can only do that action slot once an entire turn. So you cannot go back and do it again with your same colored dice. Right, but if you have a black dice or white dice, then you can go back and do it again because they are considered colorless. Okay, so that's a very important rule that we often make mistake of because it's easy to forget. Okay, so that's quite important to keep in mind. So what are the different actions that you can do? Now in this action, you can place any dice that you want there and you get 5 coins. So this is 5 coins here. So for example, I can put this here and get 5 coins. Now there will come a time where does it mean that this slot is blocked out? No, it doesn't mean that the slot is blocked out. It just means that the next person who wants to go there can still go there, but will need to pay the amount of dice equals amount of money equals to the pip that they have on the dice that they place onto that slot. So for example, if red now wants to go there and red has a 1, so red can put 1 on top. So you're stacking up. That's way to show people that green has done the action and now red is doing the action. This is to let people also know that green cannot do that action again. So what happens is that when you put this there, red will now need to pay 1 coin, but red will still be able to get the 5 coins here. So in a way, red got a net of 4 coins. Okay, so that's this one. All right, so this is Khan's the Khan's favor. So what happens is that you place a dice there and you get 1 gold, pepper, or silk, and 2 camels. Subsequently, whoever wants to go there, they cannot stack on top, but they will put the dice here. So the condition is that the next dice that they are putting there must be higher than or equals to the previous dice that's put there. So if it's a 1, I can put a 1 here. So if I want to mess around with people, I can put 5 there. So the next few people must put a 5 or a 6 there to be able to put there. Okay, and again, this one only one. You only can put 1 of the colored dice there at 1 turn. So you cannot have like, oh, I can go there again with another 6, for example. Alright. The reason I'm changing this is just to show you an example. You cannot just change the dice like that unless you have special power. So for example, like this special power allows you to decide your pips on your dice before you place them. So this is a power of the different characters. I'll explain some of the different characters later on. Okay, so this is these 2 actions. This is a bazaar. So the bazaar allows you to take resources from the board. So how do you take resources? You'll be placing dice there. So this is a one slot. You need 2 dice. You need 3 dice here. So when you put 1 dice here, you can take anything from up to that number on your pips that you put. So if I put a 6, I can take any of this. If I put a 4, I can only take from here downwards. You can always take anything below, or up to what your pips show. So I can take like 4 camels in this example. So if I put here, I can take 3 peppers, or I can take 2 peppers and 1 coin. Alright. If I have a 2 dice, if this is a 2 dice slot, if I put 2 dice here, I will only take up to the lowest pip shown on my dice there. So I only can take up to 3 in this case. So if I put like that, I only can take up to 3 in this case. So I can only take up to here. So that means I take 2 silk and 1 camel, right? And if it's like this, for example, so if I had a 2, 3, and 4, if I place it here, I can only take either 1 gold or 2 gold here. Okay, and so again, people can, so if it's here, people can go on top, they just need to pay. So if I wanted this, for example, I really wanted this, red can put on top, and red must pay 5 coins and be able to get 5 camels. Okay, next, this is the traveling action that you can do. So how do you do this? You'll be taking 2 of your dice, alright, you're placing there. Then you need to pay, you can choose which type of travel you want. If you choose to move 1 step, you pay only 3 coins. You move 2 steps, you need to pay 7 coins. Right, and then you'll be moving. So each player will have 1 character. This is the score track around the board. So this is character is to mark the score. Each player will also have 1 character at Venetia, and now you can move across the board based on the number of steps that you have. Now when you move across, there's oases. So these are like stop points, oases, and then there's big cities and then small cities. So if I did this, for example, and I move 2, so I can move, for example, 1 and 2. Then I'll come to here, this big city. So if you're first to come to a big city, you'll immediately get this benefit. So this for example means that you immediately get 1 contract, face down contract from the special contract pile. Alright. There's another stack of contract pile at the beginning that has, I think, 8 contracts that you get contracts from, so that you do not mess with the contract piles that are counting the number of rounds for you. So once you got in this, first player will go there will get this benefit, and then you will take 1 of your trading posts and put it in the slot. So there's 4 slots you can see here, so you just put it there. Now each player can only put 1 of their trading posts in a particular city. So once they do that, that's it, you end your turn. If you must always end there if you want to put a trading post there. So if you just walk past, you will not be able to put a trading post there unless you have a special character. So 1 of the characters allow you to do that. Now once a player has done this, in future turns they can now place a dice there, which means that in a way your trading post unlocks unlocks a new action space for you to put your dice there. So in future turns, for example, I can then now put my dice there and do this action. Now I just removed from here to here, but actually you only can move from here to here. So I'm just giving you an example of what you can do. So I'll put my dice there. So what does these cards mean? So for example, in this case, I can now trade camels for 3 coins, or use 1 coin to buy 1 camel. And how many times I can do it is depending on my dice there. So if I put the number 4 there, I can now do this 4 times. So I can do like, I can trade 4 camels for $12, or I can buy 4 camels for 4 coins. So the number on the pips now matter for this area. And in the city areas, the city action tiles, no one can stack on top of it. That means that if red was there as well, and red now wants to use this, red can no longer do this because green has already taken this action spot. Okay. Now when you're traveling, there are certain slots on the board where it shows extra money or extra coins. So for example, this one shows +7. It's a bit hard to see from that distance away, but there's like 3 camels here. So if I'm moving from here to here, for example, I'll need to pay additional 3 camels on top of whatever I paid here. Alright. So as I mentioned just now, how do you determine the start player is whoever is the last to place to do the travel action. So in this case, since red was the last to do travel action, red will be the new start player for the next round. And on top of that, remember, since red put on top of this, red will need to pay 3 more coins on top of whatever travel they want to do. So since red has put a 3, red can only do up to 3, even though there's a 5 there. So you always take the lowest number. So red pays 3. Let's say red wants to do the 3 steps. Red will need to pay 3 plus 12 and plus whatever cost that may be on the board. So it becomes quite expensive and quite a hotly contested place to go for this travel action. Now the last action that you can do on the board is the contract action, which is here. Alright, so players can place 1 of the dice here and then take one or 2 of the contracts. Now as you can see on the player board, there's space for 2 contracts. So at most you can only have 2 open contracts for you. If you want, you can always discard 1 of the old contracts and replace it with a new contract. So you can take 1 or 2. Now if you take either the 5 or 6, you will also get either 1 coin or 1 camel if you take a 5, or 2 coins or 2 camels if you take a 6. So if I take, let's say I take 2, so I can take this one and this one, for example. Right, I'll put it on my board. What happens to the rest? They will now all shuffle downwards. And these contracts will not refresh because they will only refresh, any remaining contracts will be removed at the end of the round, and new contracts coming at the start of every round. So these contracts will only be refreshed at the start of the next round. Okay, so that will be all the actions you can do on the board. Now, what do I mean by bonus actions then? So if you flip over the other side, you'll see all the bonus actions that you can do. So for example, you can complete contracts. You can complete as many contracts as you want. So what you do is just return the resources, get the benefits, and then just put it onto this spot on your player board. Alright. You can also take 3 coins. So there's this slot here. Alright, you can put a dice there and just take 3 coins. I'm putting the coins there just to show the effect. So I can take any dice here. There's no competition here. So I can put like this one here, for example, or this one here. There's no need to stack, and you always be able to get 3 coins there. Next, you can return 1 camel and then reroll 1 die. Okay, more often than not, this is quite a big risk. I found out through my drip several plays that this is a very risky maneuver, and 50-50 I would say the payoff is good. Next is you can adjust 1 die result by 1. You return 2 camels, and then you can either increase the die up by 1 or down by 1. Alright. Lastly, you can take 1 black die. So you can only do it once per turn. What you do is you return 3 camels, you take 1 black die from the supply. So if there's any black die left, you can take 1 black die from supply. You immediately roll it, and then you put it into your area, like so. Alright? So you only can do it once per turn. Is to prevent someone from taking all the black dice available, and then the other players are kind of screwed. Okay? So you can do all these actions as many times as you want. And yeah, so there are a few other things. For example, if you come to Beijing, there's a spelling error here. On the BGG files, they have already listed that this is a FAQ. In FAQ, that this is an issue that they realize, and they are apologetic for it. So if you're the first to come to Beijing, you put a trading post there. At endgame, you get extra 10 points. Second, 7 points. Third, 4 points. Last, 1 point. In addition, for every 2 resources that you have, be it gold, pepper, or silk, you get 1 point each. So that's the benefit of Beijing. And what else is there? If you come to Sumatra, alright, you have 3 action spaces for you to use in the future. So it's quite good because the other cities you usually only have 1, but in Sumatra you have 3. Lastly, the characters. So the characters, there are many different characters in the game, and most of them feels very overpowered in a way. But that's good because they each player, oh, I think your character is so overpowered. Oh, I think your character is overpowered. So everything feels overpowered, but for some reason they seem to be not too overpowered in a way because of how you play the game. For example, for this one, you can decide what pips you want to put on the board. So that's good because if you do not need to roll, and you can always usually get the maximum benefits. But if you are not first, then you will not be able to make use of the benefit, because if I want to put a 6 and someone else is already there, I can still do that, but I'll need to pay 6 coins, which is very expensive. So for this one, you have 2 people you start with, which means that you can now travel 2 sides. So if you see the board, the map is done in such a way that if you go by the top track, you must reach the end before you can go to the different layer. So there's like a top layer, a middle layer, this layer, and the bottom layer. So you cannot like jump in between layers. You must actually go back to Venetia or go to Beijing before you can jump to different layers. So having Niccolo and Marco Polo, you have 2 people to travel, and that's good because then you can split, and then that's how you can complete your objectives pretty well. Like for Burger Khan is that whenever you put your dice on top of another player's, you do not need to pay money. So I used this the first time, and it's really good because it saves me a lot of money that I can use for other things as well. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I've won, because I also still need to manage myself properly before I can win. So last thing to note is when the game ends, there's some end game scoring. Alright, so you check for your gold cards to see where you have scored the points. You score 1 victory point for every 10 coins you have. And then if you have a trading post in Beijing, you get these points. And if you also have a trading post in Beijing, you also score 1 point for every 2 goods. And whoever has the most completed contracts will score 7 points. So whoever has the most points will win the game. So let's go to my thoughts about Marco Polo. So as you can see, Marco Polo is I would say it's like a medium weight, slightly heavy, leaning towards the heavy side of a Euro style game. When I was explaining the rules, you can see there's quite a lot of things to go through, but once you get used to the iconography, and it is pretty clear on the board what you can do, what you cannot do, and you just need to remember that each action slot can only allow you to put your dice there, only same colored dice there once per entire turn. Per entire round. So you need to remember that. Once you remember that, then it will flow quite simply, and there's not that much issue to get through the game. There can be a lot of AP because you're wondering, oh, what should I do? Because what other players do will affect you. So there is a bit of a tactical element to it. Because what they do will affect you. They may mess with your plans, but there's also a strategic element to it. You need to plan long term. Do I want to complete all my secret objective cards and go to all these locations and then get more points, or should I just aim to complete as many contracts as I can and get the extra 7 points bonus, or should I go to these particular locations to get the benefits? One thing to note, when you first go to these small city bonuses, right? Once you place your trading post there, you immediately one time will get this benefit, and in subsequent turns then you'll get this benefit at the start of every round. So that can be quite useful to get a lot of resources at one time. But to actually travel to all these locations, it takes a lot of money and a lot of camels. So money and camels are very difficult to come by. Gold is also very difficult to come by, because gold requires you to have three dices. Use 3 dices to actually get gold. So the entire game feels very tight and very difficult in a way. It's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I just don't have enough resources. In my last game, for example, I just need 1 more coin, then I can do what I want to do, but I just couldn't. And because the dice limits the number of actions you can do, I couldn't get more dice because that would make me use up my camels, which I need to use the camels for moving. So it's all this trying to plan well and trying to plan correctly while still catering for what your opponents are doing. It is very nice for me. It's a very juicy game for me. So it reminds me a lot of Madeira in a way, because in Madeira as well, there's so many things I want to do, but I need to do this first, or should I need to do that first to be able to get the eventual points that I want. So so that's why I enjoyed Voyages of Marco Polo a lot. The powers may seem the player characters may seem overpowered in the first place, but as I mentioned, you'll start to realize that, hey, everybody's player characters feels overpowered in their own way. But when you actually play the game, how well you use the powers, or how many times you can use the powers, is really determined by the dice that you roll and how well you place them onto the board. Now, speaking of dice rolling, some people may worry that, oh, the dice rolling is very random and stuff like that, but it's not too bad. There's ways to mitigate it in a way. You will get some compensation if you roll too low, and it's very seldom that you roll like 5 ones, for example. It's pretty difficult, but even then you get a lot of camels, and camels are useful because you can use camels to get black dice for you, then you can roll it so they become like your dice as well. So all in all, I really liked Voyages of Marco Polo. I've seen some negative comments about it. I'm not too sure why. I don't really understand it yet, but I really liked my play of Marco Polo. So I heartily recommend it, and thank you Zman Games for this review copy, and thank you for watching.